This is Fat to Fierce. Welcome to the Confidence Chronicles. I'm your host, Amy English. Join me on this empowering adventure towards a healthier relationship with food, body, and self, one delicious bite at a time. Welcome to episode 16 of the Confidence Chronicles. As always, I'm excited that you're here. Today, we are diving into the world of food cravings. This is one of my favorite topics. I've probably said that before. It's okay. But more specifically on cravings, we're going to be talking about decoding the triggers behind food cravings and discovering some effective strategies to help manage them. Because food cravings can be problematic for several reasons. These intense desires for specific foods can wreak havoc on our best intentions, leaving us feeling like we're constantly battling our brains and ourselves. Cravings are so much more than just a rumbling stomach. We all know that feeling when a craving strikes. It's that intense urge for something that tastes sweet, salty, or spicy. Something that feels soft, smooth, hard, or crunchy. Because yes, food texture plays an important role in cravings, especially for anyone who eats emotionally. Maybe it's the sweetness of chocolate, the salty crunch of chips, or the comforting texture of peanut butter, or pizza. Pizza is one of those foods that includes a combination of sweetness from the sauce, salty from the pepperoni, and softness from the crust in the cheese, maybe even spice, depending what you like to put on your pizza. Or there's the comforting softness of mashed potatoes, which might bring back memories of childhood meals, while the crunch of those potato chips provides a satisfying distraction. The craving hits, and it is hard to think about anything else until you satisfy that first bite. Texture can be a powerful trigger, reminding us of emotions we're seeking, like comfort, joy, or relief. And I want to mention a discovery that I've realized in my coaching practice, talking with numerous people over the years who struggle with emotional eating. The people who tend to gravitate towards crunchy items like chips, things that are hard and crunchy and you have to really chew on, sometimes that is connected to deeper feelings of frustration and or anger, because it is the crunch that allows the release. It's allowing a way to process those feelings, that crunch, crunch, crunch. And I think that's interesting. I was never one who craved those types of foods. I always craved more sweet, soft, comforting textures. But I always thought that was interesting to learn more about the crunchy cravings. So I just share that in case it's helpful if that resonates for you. And you might recall, if you listened to episode 11 on the Confidence Chronicles, I used to have a strong urge for cake. And if I'm being honest, that craving still shows up occasionally. It's not so much about the cake itself, but the soft, smooth texture and sweetness of the buttercream icing. That comforting feeling brings back happy childhood memories like my nanny's homemade birthday cakes. If I close my eyes, I can still see her cake sitting on the counter on the beautiful cake plate with the pretty cover over it, just waiting for us all to sing and dive in. She made really good cakes. Okay, let's take a look at the science around cravings before exploring some of the common triggers and the strategies to manage them. Because yes, you can manage your cravings, meaning you can have control and decide ahead of time if and when you will indulge in a craving. Now, I'm not a scientist. I'm an emotional eating coach. So I'm not going to get into the weeds and overcomplicate this. I am sure that there are a plethora of resources if you want a detailed scientific breakdown of how cravings work in the body. For the purpose of this episode, I consulted Google to help me offer a bird's eye view of how cravings work. Okay, so do you ever get that intense desire for something sweet or salty even though you just ate? That's a craving. It's like your brain has a reward button, okay? This is dopamine. And your brain also has a dimmer switch, which is your prefrontal cortex. I'm going to refer to that as PFC, okay? The PFC is like the CEO of your brain. It's the area responsible for higher level cognitive functions like planning, decision-making, impulse control, and self-regulation. So when a craving hits and that reward button, your dopamine, gets pushed, it can temporarily weaken the PFC. So I like to think of it like the CEO has gone to sleep. This makes it hard to consider the craving and make a decision. It makes it really hard to pause. Your decision making is impacted when that reward button, that dopamine, is hit. And so instead of thinking about it, considering it, and making a decision, we act impulsively by grabbing that tempting food. When you see, smell, or even think of something delicious, that reward button gets pushed, making you really want it. And this can overpower your dimmer switch, making it hard to say no to that extra slice of pizza or cake. On top of that, your body likes to keep its energy levels up, okay? Blood sugar. When it starts running low, it might send cravings for sugary or starchy foods to get a quick boost. Cravings are like a team effort between your brain and body. Understanding this can help you recognize them as signals, not orders, so that you can make smarter choices about what you want to eat. I don't want to say smarter choices, but just help you make a choice, because let's face it, a lot of times what happens when those cravings strike is we don't even think we have a choice. We're almost on autopilot going for the food. So understanding a little bit more about how your brain and body actually work can be really helpful in just being able to pause long enough to make a choice. But let me say that this whole thing gets even more interesting when we toss in the emotional component, okay? So when food has been a source of comfort, relief, joy, and entertainment, it adds a whole other level to the basic biology of cravings. And this is why cravings can feel so challenging. They are a powerful combo of brain chemistry, body needs, and emotional reliance. All right, do not despair. I promise there are ways to take back control, all right? And it really boils down to awareness. So let's continue, shall we? All right, you may want to grab a notebook, a pen, or even like have your phone handy where you can type in some notes for yourself, because this is good stuff. All right. So let's take a look at some of the sneaky triggers that can ignite cravings. All right, first, we're going to take a look at some of the sensory cues. The sight of a bakery overflowing with fresh bread and other baked goods. What happens when you walk past the bakery at the grocery store? I know what used to happen with me. I'm curious what might happen with you when that happens. Or think of the smell of popcorn in the movie theater. These sensory experiences can trigger powerful cravings. How about driving past your favorite fast food joint when you're stressed? Yeah, that reward button, okay, dopamine might get a serious push. And I know that the fast food thing is real because most of my clients struggle with this, okay? Yes. Let's look at habits. Our routines can become ingrained, leading to automatic cravings. So that afternoon coffee break might also mean a pastry in your hand. Maybe you have a habit of mindless snacking while watching TV in the evenings. These routines can become so ingrained that we don't even realize we're craving something until we reach for it. There's like this automatic connection. And then there's boredom. When boredom strikes, also a very popular form of emotional eating, by the way. When boredom strikes, we might find ourselves mindlessly snacking, reaching for readily available and often unhealthy options to stimulate our taste buds, to create a source of entertainment. Suddenly, that bag of chips seems a whole lot more appealing when you're scrolling through social media mindlessly. And texture. As we discussed, texture can be a powerful trigger for anyone who eats emotionally. The comforting softness of those mashed potatoes or the satisfying crunch of chips can evoke specific emotions. Maybe that ice cream craving hits after a long day because you're seeking the smooth, cold texture as a way to de-stress. Emotional eating is a real thing, and it is a major player in cravings. When we use food for comfort, boredom eating, or to numb negative emotions, it creates a strong association between certain foods and feelings. The next time we're feeling stressed, lonely, or overwhelmed, we might crave those same foods because we're subconsciously seeking that emotional relief. Well, as I mentioned, the good news here, okay, is that cravings don't have to control you. Again, this is all about awareness. So see where some of those triggers might ring true for you. Just notice them. And let's talk about some strategies to help manage them and keep them in check. All right. First and foremost, now this, let me just insert another side note here. This might be different than other strategies you've heard before for controlling cravings. Okay. I'm not going to get into drinking more water, chewing gum, or finding other ways to distract from the craving. I have a different approach, and that approach involves awareness, as I've mentioned several times already in this episode, and that awareness is what puts you in the driver's seat of your journey because, yeah, there's a bunch of things you can do. You could go for a walk, you could call a friend, you could drink an extra glass of water, absolutely, and I'm not saying those strategies aren't useful. They are, but I want to take it a little bit deeper. And what I mean by that is I want to offer some strategies that help you get to know yourself better so that you're not just distracting from the craving, because when we simply distract from the craving's going to continue to come back. And so we just have to continue distracting from it, and that in itself becomes a cycle. And it only lasts so long. Again, you're hearing from somebody here, me, who struggled with really intense cravings for a very long time and got to a point where I rarely get cravings anymore. And when I do get cravings, I'm always in charge. I make a conscious choice whether I'm going to indulge in that food or not. And that's very, very different than trying to distract from it. Okay, rant over. So these strategies might be a little bit different than what you're used to hearing. Stay with me. This is really powerful stuff, okay? So here are some of the strategies that I have found most helpful in managing and understanding and managing food cravings. Number 1, get to know the difference between actual physical hunger in your body and a craving. So physical hunger, first of all, I feel another rant coming. No, first of all, it is so critically important to understand what physical hunger feels like in your body. Another thing I have discovered in my many years of coaching people is that most of us do not know what that feels like. It is true. We don't. It takes time and understanding. So physical hunger is gradual. Your stomach might start to rumble. You might feel a slight headache or your energy might dip. These are your body's way of saying, it's time to eat. The tank is going to empty. We need some fuel, okay? So really getting familiar with what physical hunger feels like for you is so important. Physical hunger cues are usually general and satisfied by a variety of foods, all right? Cravings, on the other hand, are usually intense and specific. You might have a sudden, intense desire for a particular food, like chocolate chip cookies or French fries, okay? So knowing the difference between physical hunger in your body and cravings that you typically get, just knowing that difference puts you in charge. Because then you can pause long enough to check in and ask, am I physically hungry or is this a craving? And when you can pause long enough to ask yourself the question, then you're able to make a conscious choice instead of just running on autopilot. Okay, that's the difference here. The difference is being able to make a conscious choice instead of running on autopilot. This right here is how you take your power back. Okay, it is so important. So, number 2, get familiar with how food feels in your body. Again, all of this is specific to your body because every body is different. What hunger feels like in my body might be different than what hunger feels like in your body, okay? How certain foods feel in my body might be different than how they feel in your body. Our bodies are unique to us. So get familiar with how food feels. And what I mean by that is, how do you feel after you eat some of the foods that you crave? So pick a favorite food, something that you crave often. I'll use buttercream as an example here to illustrate. So how do I feel after eating buttercream? I'm not going to lie, like crap. Buttercream makes me feel terrible physically. And I didn't know that until I stopped to pay attention. It usually leaves me with like a buzzing feeling in my body, kind of like I had way too much coffee. Now, keep in mind also, I've significantly reduced the amount of sugar that I eat. So the amount of artificial or processed sugar that I eat. Processed sugar, not artificial. Well, I guess it could be artificial. Okay, stop. I'm trying to over-explain and it's not working. Okay, so I have significantly reduced the amount of processed sugar that I eat. So my body is very sensitive to sugar. So when I do eat something like buttercream icing on cake, like it's not a good reaction. Okay, and I notice it even more so now. So my point in sharing this and why it's important to get familiar with how food feels is so that when you notice the craving, you can question it. So when I notice buttercream coming to my mind like it did last week, I can ask the question, oh, I notice I'm craving buttercream. I also know how that's going to leave me feeling like I have a sugar hangover. Do I want to feel that way? Do I want to feel bad? And then I'm asking and answering the question, right? This is also putting me in charge. Here's what I want to point out. It doesn't matter if I eat the buttercream or not, okay? The point is pausing long enough to ask and answer these questions and then make a conscious choice. So when it comes to feeling, how, do I want to feel bad? What would feel better? Like, do I want to go ahead and eat that knowing that I'm going to feel bad? Okay, I'm making that choice. I can't beat myself up about it later. But is there something that would feel better? Is there another way to satisfy that craving? Like, what am I looking for in the moment? What's going on in my life right now that I think that the sweet, soft, comforting food is going to make it better? And sometimes it is, having some buttercream, and sometimes it's not. So the point is, I'm making a choice. And that's the difference. Okay, number 3. When a craving strikes, okay, sit with it. Question it. Am I hungry? What am I looking for in the moment? Is there a feeling I'm trying to avoid or create? Meaning, am I trying to avoid stress and create comfort? Am I trying to avoid sadness and create joy? Am I trying to avoid frustration and create satisfaction? How will the food feel? We are so used to either giving into the craving or trying to avoid it. So let's just take a minute with this because I really want to paint this picture. When a craving strikes, we either think we have to give into it to make it go away, which, let's face it, never works long term because that craving keeps coming. Okay, so we think we either have to give in or try to avoid it. And we all know what happens when we try avoiding a craving, when we try resisting a craving. What we resist will only persist. So you can see the problem with those two options. Either we keep giving into it, which creates a whole other loop, or we try to resist it, which also creates a whole other loop. Okay, eventually the dam breaks and we end up eating even more than we would have initially. Okay, but those are only two options, giving into it or resisting it. I really want to invite a third option to the table, sitting with the craving. When you sit with the craving and ask some of these questions that I've offered without taking any action, okay? Just asking and answering these questions. This gives you that chance to pause. And that pause is where you regain control. That pause gives the opportunity to make a conscious choice. And that conscious choice is you at the wheel on your journey. Remember, cravings are signals, not orders. I love that. They're signals, things you can kind of check in on and question. They're not automatic orders like do this, eat that. With a little awareness and planning, you can take control and make more mindful choices about what you eat. And if you want to expand your understanding and identify your emotional eating triggers, head over to amyenglishcc.com and grab the free guide on my website. And if you have any questions on this topic or any of the topics that we explore on the Confidence Chronicles, reach out. Send an email to me at amy@amyenglishcc.com. I would love to connect with you. As always, thanks for being here. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. Have a great week. Are you ready to take control of your eating, embrace your body, and boost your confidence? Then let's get fierce. Start your Fat to Fierce journey today. Go to amyenglishcc.com for more resources and to book your discovery call.